Welcome to the Forever Classic Podcast. I'm Alex McCumbers, and today it's all about an old ring and many other things. There's a lot of games that we've been playing. We're excited to bring them to you. So, fellas, how's it been? Zach, what's up, man?
Good, man. Been playing a lot of things lately. Still getting ready for some Tiny Tina's.
Yeah,
but
that's
I just picked
soon.
up Elden Ring.
Tina's is super soon, if not now.
Tina's is super soon. I'll talk some more about it later.
It seems like everything just sort of exploded gaming-wise, like, in the last, 3 weeks, and it won't slow down for a while.
It's really busy for people who like to just kind of play what's new as it's new. It's stressful.
Aside from having to shovel a bunch of snow, I'm doing pretty well.
Why? It was so clear yesterday, and then it comes a big cold rain, and now I woke up and there was a bunch of snow, and I'm
it was
this.
three to 4 inches of heavy wet snow.
I say I woke up. I was up all night playing Elden Ring. That game's bad for productivity, man. Beware.
Part of why I set the game aside for a little bit. I've got other things I need to do. But
let's start things off with a classic Joe pitch.
We've got a bit, the segment called Joe Pitches a Marketing Idea that's brilliant but would never work in real life. Or whatever acronym that turns into.
TM, trademarked. That's...
So I'm thinking of this as you know how Trader Joe's kind of has some interesting products. They have different names for products and their own segment of mascots and things. They sell mixed peanuts or trail mix or whatever the case may be, cashews, all that stuff. We get a character. I don't know what it would be. Maybe a big bird or something. Sure, it's a bird because let's tie it to Always Sunny in Philadelphia for no reason. They always the character's name is D, and in Always Sunny in Philadelphia they accuse D of being just a big scrawny bird. It's hilarious. They're anyway, you have this character named D, and she represents this line of peanuts, cashews, almonds, trail mixes, and things like that, and the brand is called D's Nuts.
All right. Now, how do you sell D's Nuts? And I would like for you to spell that.
DEE''S. So it's mine. It's possessive nuts. They're my nuts.
It is the nuts of D.
So you can bring them to the counter and be like, I would like to purchase D's Nuts, please. Because that's how people do transactions. Hello, good sir, gas station cashier. I would like to purchase some gasoline fuel for my automobile. That's how.
I'm gonna try this at a gas station I know I'll never return to.
Anyway, while you're buying D's Nuts, take your new snack and bring it on over to patreon.com/foreverclassicgames, where you can give us money to support us. If you like what we do, if you like our content, our streaming, our articles on the website, or this podcast, you can support us $1 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month. Various tiers give you different Discord benefits in our Discord. So if you had a question for us, that would become a priority for us to respond to and engage in conversation with you. We also have plans in the future to provide an ad-free experience of the podcast. So that's something that you would automatically get in, and it's something we're still building. But anything you want to throw away, that would be awesome and appreciated, but not necessary. As for the details of this Discord benefits, I'll shoot that over to Zach, the Discord guy.
That's him.
All right. So right now, just any kind of whatever you call becoming a patron in the other terms of other than the words becoming a patron, they all include the Discord benefits of being able to become one of the people who can get into the patron only chat. That's chat just among all the other patrons. You're the only ones in the Discord who can see it, except for the moderators, because of course the moderators need to be able to see whatever's going on everywhere.
You mean I don't have to give us $5 to
get into our Patreon? The system is flawed. We could have made $15. Come on, guys.
I've circumvented the system by just joining the team.
But yeah, and it's right there. As for positioning, it's right under our general chat, so it's kind of hidden there. Nobody gets to see it, interact with it unless you are one. We've had a few over the years, but it's just a way that they can be like, hey, what do y'all think about this? Or just have weird little side chats, but with other people. More of an open forum side chat towards us. thus far. I mean, it's been small so far. I'm sure that when if it were to grow, it'll be what it is then, and we'll tackle those bridges when we come to them. But otherwise, it's cool. Nice little avenue of us being able to see it very quickly and immediately and respond to anything going on.
And there's a couple different ways you can support this project. We do have a PayPal, so you can like make a direct donation without going through any of the Patreon stuff. That's really good if you want to do like a larger donation than what's typical of like the monthly model that Patreon uses.
That's a more direct way to give us money. I have friends that I do sub to their Twitch fairly regularly, but if I wanted to be like, hey, order yourself a pizza, I go through their PayPal and send them $20 so that they can get a pizza. Because otherwise, I think
you like wait
Patreon
on it
or
and
Twitch,
stuff. Yeah.
Like if I bought bits for Twitch, they only get like a percentage of it gets taken by Twitch, depending on the way you want to do it.
And we do have subs on Twitch here on twitch.tv/foreverclassicgames as well.
Yep. Shout out to our buddy from college, Lego Rad 1. Thanks for being with us for a long time.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
All right. What have you guys been playing?
Ooh, things.
You've been playing one thing. I know.
No, I've been playing 3 things.
You played.
I've been playing one thing since one thing came out.
You played 2 things for a bit.
I played
and
a
then
bunch of
one
Call of
thing
Duty
came
the other day.
out.
That has to count.
That was at work. That doesn't count. But what have you been playing?
Let's talk first about a fascination of mine that probably is reflected in the various articles and content I've put out here recently. Infernax is such a cool little like retro style Castlevania 2, Zelda 2 style side-scrolling game where you play as a tired duke coming home from the Crusades to find that his land, his village, his people has been taken over by demons. And what do we do to solve demons? Hit him in the face with a mace. It's one of those games that it's really unassuming, and you play like you can beat the game feasibly in like 3 to 4 hours, right? But the cool thing about this is this like morality system that allows you to go through these different story angles, and some of those story angles are like really, really powerful, especially on the evil side of things. Like there are scenes in this game, a pixel art game, that made me deeply uncomfortable. And I think that's super cool.
That can be really difficult to pull off.
Yeah, it's super gory. It's like what they'll do is they have the general gameplay situation, but then they'll switch to like these higher res like pixel art style images and such, and you have different like moral decisions and things like that, and the amount of like detail that went into this is crazy. Like there are cheat codes that let you play as a barbarian version of this character, and they actually change the character portrait and the like larger character sprite for whenever you make those like morality decisions. It's super cool, guys.
That is really cool.
And like I had a complete, to my knowledge anyways, like I got all the endings that I wanted to get. I got all the cheat codes, which you enter via a Game Genie style system.
This game actually has like old school cheat codes built into it, which is I think we're gonna see that starting to come back, because they like disappeared for a while.
It's super cool. You like put in a code, get a jetpack. And that's my favorite thing, because sometimes the platforming is really annoying in this game. And I honestly thought I wasn't going to keep playing it. So I beat it once, and I'm like, I don't want to go through those platforming sections again. I beat the game, open up the little book it gives me for getting that ending. What's the code? Jetpack. No longer is platforming an issue. I played that game front to back because of that. So I think that having those cheat codes that like either allow the player to do things a lot faster or a lot more effectively, or just to like cut corners, I really like that type of design.
Question for you is, I've encountered similar things like that in games. Like the biggest example that comes to mind that maybe a lot of people would also have experience with is Resident Evil 4. You beat the game, and then suddenly you have like unlimited ammo cheats and things that you can unlock. But I never really felt the need to play the game again. Because I beat it. So what motivated you to jump back in with these cheat codes? Because like Resident Evil 4 doesn't have like alternate endings, right? Like So it's just playing through the same content, but not having to worry about ammo, or you get a unlimited rocket launcher, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So what motivated you as a player to keep going?
Well, in Infernax, it was all about getting those other endings and having that be easier than like actually going through the game proper. And what's cool about this is like putting in the Konami code gives you a Contra style character class that you run around with and shoot a machine gun. So I was like, well, yeah, I'll fire that up and play that. And then when I got the jetpack, I was like, oh, now I can really play through this game quickly. Like bosses are no longer a problem even. And the game's combat is fairly like measured, and it's all about spacing and hitting highs and lows, and you have a shield, so you're like blocking arrows, and it's a tough little game. Not so much for me, who's played a lot of these like retro style games, but if it wasn't for those cheat codes and me knowing, like, the game like teases, right, that there are other endings and there are other characters and things to find, and I knew from talking with the developers of PAX long ago that there was things in this game that was worth digging up. And so, like, being able to just cruise through the entire game in like 2 hours without even trying to speedrun it, and then sequence break a lot of this stuff, that's what kept me going.
All right. So the change in gameplay with the knowledge of reward
Yes.
kept you going, because like that was the issue I ran into with Resident Evil 4. I loved the game, and having unlimited ammo was fun, but I was just like, I don't really want to replay this right now.
So the unlimited ammo really helps to complete RE4 under the time limit to give you the infinite rocket launcher, which is then kind of helpful if you like don't want to look up a guide to find all the little like hidden shootable things. Because if you're just going blasting, you're bound to hit one eventually, right? But RE4 is fascinating because I played a little bit of the Oculus VR version, and that like changes how that game works fundamentally, and that's really cool. And just to touch on Resident Evil again, they are doing a like 4K graphics upgrade to Resident Evil 2, 3, and 7. On PS5 and Xbox Series X and presumably PC. And I think if you own that, you get that content for free. I haven't looked at that press release super closely.
So that was Infernax. What else have you been playing?
Do you guys want to dive into another one before I hit another indie?
I'm fine with however we want to do it.
Zach, because I feel like we should end this chat with Elden Ring.
Fair enough.
I agree.
Has anybody been playing anything else other than Elden Ring?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
So I'm in the final stretch, I think, of Bravely Default 2. Luckily, it seems like, so I've been struggling with the pace in this game. While it's like the gameplay is really fun and the combat is really engaging for a turn-based RPG, having each chapter be like 3 dungeons long, and they're like long, kind of tedious dungeons, and then like multiple boss battles. But the boss battles are fantastic. I've loved almost every fight. They're challenging. They're like, for a turn-based RPG, like 40 minutes in, suddenly losing it, and then having to like, all right, what went wrong? What do I need to change to make this go easier next time? Like what sort of things? And then like succeeding on the following was like really gratifying. But the boss battles are challenging. They require you to think and strategize, and in ways that are unique to this system. But it just felt like I was spending a lot of time in one place, which gets a little old. But now we're like, things that like I've quickly jumped between 3 cities, revisiting cities and taking out big bosses in those places, and already moving on to the next like section of the game. And so the pace is amping up as the stakes are amping up. And cool. I think I think the end game is starting to like swing back around to being like super fun.
Do you use a guide at all, or is that fairly like self-sustained?
Overall, the quest tracker in it is pretty good.
Okay.
So they don't really...
Because that feels very traditional to me. Like the fact that some of these bosses take like you're saying, like 40 minutes long. That's like the crunchiest version of the old Final Fantasies, right?
Yeah. And that's kind of what Bravely Default as a series has kind of come into, is to try and be a placeholder to fans of classic Final Fantasy.
It's basically Final Fantasy 3 on DS /
like
Final Fantasy 5.
It's literally the Heroes of Light.
Yep. Which was another game that was very similar to this, and I think even developed by the same people.
Collecting crystals and like saving the world from like a big evil. But moving on from that, I have also been making progress in Horizon Forbidden West, which is a gorgeous game. I am consistently impressed by the load times and how short they are in the PlayStation 5. Like, I will fast travel to a completely different area of the map, like complete opposite side, and it will load in like 10-15 seconds, and I'm playing again.
So just to touch real quick on that detail, the Final Fantasy 4, Final Fantasy the 4 Heroes of Light on DS did in fact, that team go on to create a sequel which eventually became Bravely Default. So it was just a marketing switch.
Hilarious.
Fascinating. Yeah, so PS5 Horizon Forbidden West.
Yeah, but I was cruising through the story mode, and I was like hitting a wall. Like everything I tried to fight, just like imagine Dark Souls level of like difficulty, but without the like solid mechanics where things just hit you once and you're just like sort of dead. I kind of went back to some previous areas to explore because I think there were some things that I missed equipment wise. that will help me progress in the future. And suddenly I was just like beating the crap out of things. I was like almost overpowered. It was a nice change of pace, but I never get tired of looking at this game. It's beautiful. And then
really nice.
I've been dabbling. I haven't spent a ton of time in it, but I've been dabbling in Lost Ark, that new MMO RPG that came out last month. It's a little bit more action heavy, so you're actually putting in like the cooldowns on moves are faster, so you're chaining moves into each other a lot easier, and then you have also just like a regular attack that you can just use to bridge gaps between things. And so certain moves are called chain moves. So you use it like 3 times in a row, and then you switch to another one, and it seamlessly moves into the next like attack that you have commanded. I've been playing with a controller. For some reason, that feels easier for me. But like basically, if the Diablo formula was more robust with like a fighting mechanic, a little bit. But yeah, Lost Ark it's an interesting take on MMORPGs because I've never really been into them. Like I've burned out on them super quickly, but this seems to be pulling me back in with some things, so I'll dabble in it in a little bit. But the final thing gaming wise I'll say is yesterday I picked up a 3070 Ti and it is sweet. I basically spent like 3 hours yesterday just firing up games I had installed, pushing everything to max settings, and then just playing the game for like 10-15 minutes just at like 100 frames per second.
I was in here playing Elden Ring, and Joe's like, Alex, you gotta see Doom Eternal. It's running at like 100 frames. This is crazy.
On my max settings with ray tracing on. It was incredible.
Meanwhile, I think I played that at like 720p, and it was still amazing. Like, that game's super cool.
So what about you, Zach? What have you been playing?
I have a guess.
First up, I mean, I've still been playing Fortnite. Pretty much going to be playing that a lot more.
People say that's good now, like surprisingly.
Yeah, this season's very good. I'm very impressed with this season. Back to like my love of it and where I played like constantly in seasons like 4 through 1, 7 2, or 8 or whatever. But yeah, no, it feels like it's in an excellent place. I've been watching the Fortnite Championship series that's going on right now.
Ooh,
they've had some excellent games. I really like. Even if you don't know anything about playing the game, they're excellent watching. Like the way that they stream them and the way that they're like talking on the desk and casting them, they're really, really fun to watch.
I gotta watch this for research purposes. That sounds super cool.
Yeah, no, it's very clean. It looks great. They're following the people. It's a little confusing because of course at that level everybody's a master builder and doing all sorts of crazy build stuff in their fights, but you get to see really interesting things that they're doing along the way.
Well, not to mention to give people a little teaser of the next episode, you're like neck deep in research mode for the next episode later this month.
Yes,
the Night of Forts.
Yes, we're going to do a whole episode on the storyline of Fortnite so far, which for these guys has been very confusing.
That I don't have anything scheduled for that because that sounds fascinating.
I'm excited for it.
It is, and I went back and I've read like so many other like bits and pieces of things that I hadn't caught before, and like from some stuff from seasons I didn't actually know. So like there's a lot of stuff going on, but there's usually kind of a little through thread or things that tie it up later. It's very, very interesting for the fact that it's a battle royale with a story.
Well, I can't wait to learn more about it in a couple weeks.
Other than that, Destiny 2 Witch Queen has been fantastic.
Yeah,
it looks gorgeous. It plays great.
I kind of want it. I don't have the time, but I kind of want it.
How's the UI?
UI same Destiny UI.
I only asked because I know someone I know moved there a couple years ago to become a UI designer for that studio. So.
It's pretty cool. I think the only big complaint I have with UI is like on consoles, it takes forever to load up any of your inventory stuff. You have to wait like 5 to 6 seconds every time you load it up to be able to see things. At least on PS4. I don't know about PS5 now. It might be way faster.
Is that a hardware issue or like just the way it's like structured?
I don't know. It's been that way since day one for us, even with the old Destiny. So, but on PC, it's much snappier.
Okay.
UI wise, it looks great. I love the way that all the stuff feels around the screen. So.
Are you playing on PC primarily now?
Trying to, yeah. So all my Destiny stuff I had.
Did you have to buy it twice?
Because Destiny base is free on PC.
Oh, okay.
Expansions are not. So I had the old expansions on console that basically had been rolled into the free version because I hadn't upgraded in so long. So I bought Beyond Light when it was on sale for $20, and then I bought Witch Queen for, I think I spent 90, but I got it the 30th anniversary and some other little stuff.
But are you
Came
able
with,
to just like swap between them at will now, or?
I can, but I can't do the expansion stuff. So if I wanted to play on console, I could, but I can only play the base version.
So if you wanted to like jump in and do, I don't know, PvP or something that like is a base level mode, that's where you would maybe do it on the PS4.
Oh yeah, totally can.
I see.
Yeah, that's not a problem at all. But PC works much better for me, so PC it is.
Cool. That's kind of why I want to play it, because I like PC shooters, and Destiny has got a really good shooter system. And apparently the Witch Queen has got a really cool like story mode now.
Yeah,
so
I've heard good things.
Oh, man.
So that pretty
It's
much wraps up games, right? There's no other game that we've been playing at all. Not at all. I think that's pretty much it.
Nothing else came out.
Nope, nothing worth talking about.
Nothing genre defining or potentially like a pop culture shift or a turning point for one of our favorite developers. Nah, that didn't happen.
Nope. Nothing.
I
really wish that would have happened. That would have been cool. That sounds great. I probably would have spent like a whole 20 hours in like a couple of days doing something like that. That would have been great.
That's about where I'm at with it.
Oh, wait! That did happen! Elden Ring.
I got 2 fingers for you. And you know what that says? Victory, friends. Like, this game is so good.
It's very, very fun.
Holy shit, this game is good.
So I've enjoyed, like, the way this game is set up. I have enjoyed sitting and playing the game myself while a friend of mine streams his playthrough through Discord to me, and we just talk while we both play this game separately, not even cooperatively, because he's playing on PC and I've been playing on PS5. Me, like, watching him play and trying different things and playing in a different way than I am is still so enjoyable. And the sharing of information, I'm like nostalgic for it. It reminds me of when someone would be like, discover something like when Pokemon first came out, right? Like, did you get to the lake? You got to get to the lake because there's like a red Gyarados, right? Like this sharing of information hasn't happened in such a long time. And because of how huge the game is, we're not getting like this slew of articles that happens every time a game comes out about what's the best build or 10 things you need to do before you play Elden Ring.
I mean, we're getting those. They're really kind of surface level in a lot of ways.
They're so surface level, and they're almost useless because there's no right way to play Elden Ring. You're playing
Can you buy a guide yet?
I don't know, but you're playing it differently than me. Our buddy Dave's playing it differently than either of us, and
I'm probably playing it different than y'all as well.
Well, okay, so I know how I'm playing, and I know how Joe's playing. What are you doing?
Well, for the audience, we should probably specify. I'm playing it fairly traditionally. I'm going through, like, tackling bosses in dungeons and, like, but I'm not doing 100% exploration. Like, I move on, like, if I'm not beating a boss or I can tell, like, oh, this isn't happening anytime soon, I have had no problem moving on and going somewhere else and trying new things.
And what's your character build?
I'm doing a samurai.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've gotten really into the two-handed stance and mostly doing like dodges and slashes with that, with some summoning. And so that's been like my combat setup for most of my gameplay. But I'm going through it just, I think, probably fairly traditionally. I'll make progress in the story and then I'll explore a little bit, see what else I can find. Sometimes I'll poke at an area that I'm not supposed to be at yet, just to kind of see what's over there. But the satisfaction in exploration has been really good, which leads into how you've been playing the game.
I picked up basically like a cleric kind of thing. So basically my idea was, what if the Infernax hero was an Elden Ring? Because I was coming off of Infernax, and so I was like, well, I'll make like a cool cleric guy. And then I found out clerics have fire magic now, which has been a lot of fun. So I'm running around with like a holy sword, a turtle shield, and fireballs. But my whole strategy in this game, dude, is like sheer exploration. If I meet any resistance in a boss fight, like if I die twice, I'm out. I just keep going. And I have discovered so much of this map. And just last night, I found another underground section that had another set of, like, area to it. And I'm like, this game is huge. When does it stop? I don't know. They could keep, like, shadow dropping areas and we would be none the wiser. I've seen so many cool things in this game, dude. And I've found so many cool items. Like, I have a cool crystal sword now that does magic damage. I stumbled across a village that was, like, going mad because these guys were doing, like, crazy fire magic, And so I like stepped into the town and there's these wizards like shooting fire into the air and it caused madness. And I killed those guys and like found a church and got their spells. And this game is incredible.
So what's
all I want to do is play this game.
So what's significant about that is you've uncovered so much more of the map than I have.
Yeah.
And about this, like at this point, you've probably put in quite a bit more time.
The only thing I had to do is I had to kill Godric in order to get further beyond Stormvale
there's
Castle.
two story main bosses that you've had to beat to make actual progress.
Yeah, Margit and Godric.
But so I've probably beat maybe about twice as many because I've done dungeon delves and beat dungeons, and I've done all of these like beaten all these like really hard enemies, whereas you nope out. But I've also uncovered half as much of the map as you.
Yep.
And they're both viable.
And I don't get caught up in like losing the runes, which is the soul / blood echoes of this game.
Yeah.
It's like I've always played these games to be more item importance, and so I'll make dead sprints knowing I'm gonna die just to get items, and it's worked out for me in other Souls games, and it really works out for me in Elden Ring.
So
nice.
Zach, what is your build and what is your approach?
My approach is I'm going in blind because I really like going into these games as blind as I can be. I mean, the stuff's everywhere, and eventually I'm going to recognize something I've seen, and I'm going to know exactly what I need to mess with.
I did start looking up little things last night, like, oh, where's this quest such, and that sort of thing. But yeah, I've been doing the same.
But I'm definitely going to explore everything I can explore as I go. But I went in as a wretch, no keepsakes, totally blind.
Oh.
So I've got a club and some cloth around my junk.
Ugga.
Actually, I've killed enough guards that I've also got a pair of the guards' gloves from a drop. But
You're not entirely naked.
No, I mean got some.
You got to protect
gloves.
those hands.
You know, the most important part. I think I had mentioned that a couple times while we were playing. It's like, man, I really wish I could get some armor that I didn't have to like grind out and buy, so that I'm not just staring at my ass this whole time.
Well, you have control. You can custom make a character. Why didn't you give yourself a better ass? You have no one to blame but yourself.
Now you know why people liked Nier Automata.
But so most of my playstyle I know that I'm going to center around is going to be trying to do stuff with parrying.
Ooh, that's
because I really got into parrying in all the Dark Souls games I've played so far after I figured out how to actually do it successfully.
Yeah.
I'm not very good at it right now.
So you go and parry with shields or parry with like one of the little like parry dagger things?
As soon as I can get something that's not a shield, I'll do that. But right now I spent the first 600 runes I got, first 900 on a crafting kit, and then
makes sense
buying the like leather shield or whatever.
Cool.
So
what I like about this game in particular is there's a guard impact kind of thing that you can do that's way easier to pull off and super effective for people who like sticking with the shield. This is the most viable like shield game since probably Dark Souls 1, honestly. And you do that by like, if you got your shield up, as soon as something hits it, just press R2 and you'll do like a counter sweep attack. And it's really effective at like breaking down poise or stature or whatever it is that cripples them down, and then you get like the stab or whatever.
So though, like you're playing it differently than either of us. Our buddy Dave, he's doing like a full, like he's put in as many hours as Alex, I think, and
Probably.
he is still in the first area.
He's like running around Stormvale.
He's doing like a full deep, like 100% completion, like scanning like across each like section as he gets it before he makes progress onto the next section. Like this meticulous, tedious. And then that's different than the video. Like all of these are different than the way that Markiplier approached the game in the video he released, where he just
was really funny.
He basically walked out and was like, the guy on the golden horse, I'm going to beat him. It's literally the first enemy you like see when you like get out into the world. And he's I'm going to beat that guy.
That guy steps out, kills him. He's like, all right, it's on. Game on, dude. No, you know that dungeon that you can get, like, you know the one that I was doing with the chariot that's at the starting area? The, like, rolling thing down the hallway? I still can't get through that. And I'm, like, level 40 or whatever. Like, not only is there just, like, bullshit trying to get through the chariot at multiple stages in this dungeon, but also there's, like, fairly tough imps and knights and stuff. And I'm like, dang it. I hate this place.
You spent like 40 minutes exploring this like dungeon before you even left the starting area, because your keepsake was the
key,
basically a key that allowed you to unlock an area, and there's one right away.
Mm-hmm.
And you went in, and I'm like sitting there. It's like 1:30 in the morning, and I kind of want to go to bed, but I also want to see your reaction to stepping out into the open like space for the first time.
Yeah.
But I don't want to like push you towards it. So I'm just sitting there waiting for you to get tired of being run over by this big chariot.
Which is so funny because that maybe that dictated like how I approach this game, because any other area in the game, if I get that much resistance, I leave. But speaking of Stormvale, which feels like a Demon Souls level in itself, right? Like it's huge. You come across the castle, you're looking up, and it's this massive structure. And that's when you really get like a sense of scale in this game. And I found like other side areas in Stormvale that led me to like a divine tower where I could put the thing that I got from Godric into another thing, and it gives me a great rune. Which if I pop one of the like runic whatever shards, the like half moon looking things, it gives me like a really big stat boost until I die. Like there are some cool things in this game that I'm still like, there are systems that I'm uncovering.
The funny thing about
40 hours in.
The funny thing about things
crazy.
like that is I would be afraid to use it because I'll probably die.
Well, yeah, sure. Which I don't use them very often, but when I'm like going back to the starting area, being like, oh, I know there are some bosses in here that I can probably kill now. That's when I'll pop the like buff.
All right, but the main topic or the main thing we're talking about today is catching up on some gaming news and current events happening in the gaming space.
There's some things happening. Obviously, Elden Ring was a big one. Pretty much everybody's talking about it.
Yep. So we kind of already touched a little bit on it, on it being released and its impact in its first like week or two of existence. But kind of like a really serious topic right now is the situation between Russia and Ukraine. Has prompted a number of video game companies. A lot of them, like in Central and Eastern Europe, are committing funds and support for the Ukraine defense and humanitarian efforts. But it goes like even bigger. Like I think Valve are blocking IPs from buying games and from participating in online game lobbies and things if the IP address is associated Russian.
Now, these big swings do have a tendency to actually hit some people that maybe they shouldn't be, because I think Twitter or Facebook or somebody blocked a bunch of Russian users, and some of those users were like actively tweeting about where to find safety. So it's not a perfect system.
No, it's not. And it's one of those things too where like, is the issue the people of Russia or its leadership? And
that's the thing, right? Like if you block a bunch of Russians from using Steam, that's not going to affect the dudes like calling these like strikes.
Do you think is Putin sitting there
Putin
going, dang it,
I can't play Destiny.
I can't play CS:GO now.
Or Elden Ring's out and I wanted to spend my downtime with that and now I can't. Like
well,
that might
also the ruble is now worthless,
CS:GO.
so he would have to spend like 1 million rubles to even buy a copy of Elden Ring. But this type of action doesn't impact the people responsible,
right?
And so I see where they're coming from, and I agree with like supporting. Like I agree more in line with like helping those in need than punishing those like punishing Russians.
It makes more sense when companies
Ukrainians
are like, we're going to take all of our profits that are currently being funneled in. Like if CS:GO suddenly was like, hey, a big chunk of our money is going to go to help the humanitarian groups that are trying to like actively give people first aid and housing and those sort of things. Like that makes more sense to me.
Absolutely.
And there's even some indie groups that so back when the George Floyd shooting happened, we had a group put together that like itch.io bundle of like 1,000 games.
Oh yeah, I remember
for
that.
like $20.
I missed that by a day.
Well, there's gonna be another one specifically for this, and I saw the person doing it on Twitter. They're like, hey, where's that bundle but for this cause? And then 10 minutes later he's like, so I'm teaming up with itch.io. I'm the like main dev spearheading this idea.
Okay.
And so it's definitely something that like we see it all the time, right?
Yeah.
Like gamers help out in GDQ with Doctors Beyond Borders. Gamers will rally together and get funds in the right places and help people with these like really deep issues. And so that's kind of what I'm hoping that gets tapped into again.
Well, even like last week, I think it's called the Frame Fatales had their
Frame Fatales
had their charity marathon, speedrunning marathon, in support of the Malala Fund, which provides tech and gaming resources for those in underdeveloped areas that really need those resources for learning and inspiring particularly girls and women into the tech and entertainment industries. But as far as like the Ukraine and Russia, that's as far as I'm comfortable with discussing it, because I'm certainly not an expert. I'm not from there. I don't know people involved, and so like I feel really like my exposure is what I see on Reddit and what I've seen in the news.
The reason it comes up is because so many different game and tech industries, people are directly like making these stances about it. And so that's how it gets into our circle.
Yeah. But
I think at the end of the day, all of us really just like, we pray for the safety of people that are involved. We hope that this gets resolved as soon as possible. Like that's the genuine hope that we have.
Back towards maybe something a little bit more fun to discuss. Last month, the Steam Deck officially launched. Consumers have them in their hands. Not just reviewers, not just tech YouTubers. People
who bought them.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And around release, Valve came out and said that they've released all of the like official files. So if you wanted to 3D print your own shells or design your own things, you can.
I wasn't aware of that. That's super cool.
Which is super cool and super like consumer friendly. Overall reviews have been really optimistic. Out of the gate, it's missing some things. Not every game on Steam is compatible with it, so there's like a growing list of games that are becoming officially compatible.
From what I hear, the games that have that little listing though work really, really well.
Yeah. And then, there's like some upgrade paths that you could take or not take, and like what its long-term viability. There's some questions there. And it really comes down to how long Valve will support this product, which Valve does not have a good history of doing. Like,
funny enough, you had to download an update to the BIOS like whenever you got this thing, which is not something consumers usually have to do.
But is your standard consumer buying it, or is it like enthusiasts?
It's PC people.
It's PC enthusiasts probably investing in this type of thing. But
which is why I think they were okay with like releasing this a little early, so to speak. Like as soon as it comes off the factory line, they're shipping it to people's houses.
Provided that they support it long term, which again, there's so many physical products that they've released that they've let go of so quickly. And it's really disappointing because it's like really cool ideas, but then they didn't like finish the idea, so to speak,
or make it readily available for regular consumers to purchase. Like some of the their VR headset was like $1,000, and I've never seen one.
Well, the other thing too is like how many can you even it's not available to buy in like a physical space, right? So
the Steam Deck, no, you have to order it through Steam,
right? And I don't know if that's like how many people love the Switch because it's portable and ready to go and it's easy, but how many of that same audience who might be interested in maybe a more powerful portable console are going to go on the computer, download Steam if they're not already a PC gamer, to order this product?
It's a couple extra steps. I think what you're getting at, though, is really important because right now the Switch is starting to show its age. We'll get to more of that at the end of this episode, actually.
Yes.
But so the Steam Deck is it's been compared to a PS4 in a single unit, like a handheld form factor. It plays things like Horizon Zero Dawn really, really well, and so
really?
it
I hadn't heard that was on.
Yes.
That's really cool.
It's on Steam, so it's for whatever reason it got an update to make it super handy. The other thing that I've heard a lot of people talk about is it's a beast for emulation. You can get GameCube and Wii stuff running on this at like 1080p.
I've
frame
heard
rate upgrades.
I've heard some Switch emulation is doable, but it's not. It's rough.
It'll get there.
They're getting it, but initial attempts have been like
So
choppy.
that's the weird world we live in now, right? Is what if the emulators for Switch are better to play on Steam than they are the Switch, which plays into a little bit about some speculation. There was like a hack that was compromised at NVIDIA, which a lot of people's personal information got released, so that really sucks. One of the little tidbits in there is all these code words for things that hint at that Switch Pro upgrade that people have been wanting for so long. So it'll be weird to see if like in the handheld competitor space, there's like the Switch and then there's a Steam Deck.
But yeah, it seems like a really cool thing, and I think it's fairly reasonably priced. Like if you look at other portable like PC-based gaming all-in-one units, they're like upwards to $850 to $1,200, like for like something similar. And this is like $400 for the base unit, and then it goes up from there. I think like the most expensive one I think is $650, $700.
$650. I'm looking at it now.
Okay.
Comes with an SSD. Is the upgrade from the 400 to the 529.
But when a Switch OLED is $350, like that's not a bad deal for what you're getting.
And instant, like if you've been a Steam user like me for the past like 10, 15 years, you're going to have games that'll be really fun to play in a portable situation.
Absolutely.
That aren't available anywhere else, especially for like indies that start on Steam. This is huge.
Yeah, it's really stepping into a market in a huge way, and I'm curious to see where it'll go. I don't know if I'm going to become an early adopter.
I'd love to get one given the opportunity.
Right, like that's kind of the thing, right? But I just have so much other things that I'm looking at, and I already have a Switch that I like to take my, like, I think the Switch is still more portable. The Steam Deck is a bulky boy.
It's certainly smaller than the Steam Deck, that's for sure.
But yeah, it's cool that it's out. I think some people were skeptical of whether or not we would get it because it got delayed a few times.
Mm-hmm.
People are getting it in their hands and seem excited about it, so that's really, really cool.
Zach, would you pick up one of these?
Debating. I'm not totally sure.
I feel like if there's an HDMI out, that would make it really appealing.
Who needs a Steam Deck when I've got a GBA with an IPS mod right here?
I'd be interested in it for a few things. Like I really like RimWorld, so I think taking that, if when it gets its like deck upgrade, to be able to go play a management game wherever I'm at, lay in bed and play it, that would be great for me because it's just something I would enjoy and be able to kick back with. And not have to be at the desk, things like that. So there's a lot of like tedious little stuff that I think I'd really get some enjoyment out of using it with. Those in particular, like management, like simulations, sort of like colony style things. They take time, and if I can move around and do that, then I'd be much more interested in it.
I think the appeal of like, I go back to indies with this, right? Because there are so many games where I want to play these games. I don't want to sit at my desk and play them. And that's just probably because I have like a fairly uncomfortable like chair. And, it's like playing at the desk, I just can't do as long as I can laying in bed. So if like an indie comes out and they can only put out a Steam version, if they can just like make sure that it works on a Steam Deck, that could open up specifically for reviewers and press people in a way that like you might just get more indie reviews in general. There is a dock as well. It's not as like as the Switch, but there is a dock. I don't think it's out yet, but there's one in the
they've
purchase page.
It's one of those things where like it's got the compatibility. We'll see if they invest in that compatibility, because like the Wii U gamepad has like some sort of like port that never got used, and no one knows what the concept was. I think the PlayStation Vita also has like an unused port. So
Maybe.
there were like potential plans for these things. It just those things didn't take off, so they didn't invest in the.
When you mentioned repair stuff, I hope they make parts available for this, because the fact that
they've announced that you can just order parts, and you can 3D print parts too. Some of them. So if the button breaks off, you can 3D
stick.
Yeah, they're very right to repair friendly. So
that's super cool to me, because my favorite thing about the Switch is my Joy-Cons broke eons ago. And so I just bought the Hori controllers, plopped them on, and it's way more sturdy, and it's way better for me.
It works really well. The other kind of surprising news that came up, I think it was last week, Epic Game announced that they have purchased Bandcamp.
That's weird.
It is weird, but Bandcamp's official statement seemed very optimistic. It doesn't seem like Epic Games is planning on interfering with any of their day-to-day operations yet. Who knows what it'll look like long term. But Bandcamp is known for its artist-friendly policies, and certain things, like if you buy an album on a Friday, all of the proceeds go to the artist. Like they have things like that set up. I'm not super familiar with Bandcamp, but music lovers are. So
I bought a couple albums.
I think there's some concern long term, but for now, at least Bandcamp themselves are optimistic about what it will do for their ability to provide services worldwide, which is kind of cool that it increases their bandwidth for expanding what they do rather than restricting it.
I'm really excited for that. And I think at least thus far, with Epic Games' track record of trying to do more good things like for publishers and developers, like combating Steam's 30/70 split with their 88/12, being like, we're going to take the baseline, you guys take more. I'm hoping that spills over into this Bandcamp thing. Or even that it would go as far as to maybe even allow more music to be accessible in other things, so that it could fight more against all the pursuant DMCA things you see everywhere. So maybe make that much more tasty looking for people producing stuff through Bandcamp, so that they can get their music in more places, more people can hear it.
I can also see it getting worse, because now an indie band's album is now associated with a major public
corporation,
Epic Games. Now Epic Games suddenly takes down your stream because you were listening to like your favorite indie band while you were drawing or something on Twitch, which I'm a little bit pessimistic when it comes to copyright law, because even in huge cases where it's obviously fair use, it always turns in favor of the publisher and major corporation that has the money with the lawyers on retainer, right? Like YouTube doesn't care about me. They care about Warner Brothers because Warner Brothers pays them for ad revenue.
Yep.
So
big spender.
And I don't. I'm trying to make money off of YouTube. Like, so
Right.
it's kind of like a really difficult situation. And even if it's a case where I was taking a bit of music and reviewing it,
Couldn't do it.
there are people that get hit with copyright claims who don't even show a single frame of a movie or audio from a movie, and they get hit with a copyright strike because they sat in their car and talked about the movie after seeing it in the theater.
There is
Like-
some weird, like, the era of criticism is so bizarre to me right now because it used to be such a big, like, important thing. I mean, that's how we ended up with, like, critical analysis of, like, literary works, which in turn do help the medium in general, right? Or creates new perspective for, like, a second reading or something.
Yeah.
Something I've been entertaining with Elden Ring is what are those influences and what can I watch, read, listen to that will supplement me playing Elden Ring? And so, like, taking that stuff out of the equation and trying to say, no, our product exists in a pocket. For one, it's stupid. And for two, it's just kind of backwards, right? Like, I feel like there's a lot of knowledge that's being lost because of these sort of, like, takedowns and such.
Yeah, it's frustrating because like a nostalgia critic will like review a movie and they will recreate scenes of the movie themselves. Like they'll put on silly costumes and like poorly written dialogue that sort of gets the idea across of a scene, and they'll get hit with a copyright strike. And it's like, tell me what part of our video did Warner Brothers or whatever publishing company created? What studio created this? Oh, we created it. You don't own this. You inspired it, but you didn't create this. And it's so frustrating that copyright law hasn't caught up to the digital age. It's still very much stuck. And then you have major corporations like Disney screwing up and rewriting copyright law in their favor because like a number of their characters should have been in the Creative Commons by now. But back to Zach's point, yeah, I think Epic Games has a strong history in support of creators. I mean, they're rolling in money from other avenues anyway, so it's less crucial to their business model to take revenue from game developers and other publishers. And they have active products right now that are just rolling in money. And so it's interesting when they buy up these companies and pay Sony for 6 months exclusivity of a PS4 game on PC through their Epic Games Store, because right now they're a new platform. They have to take really competitive strategies to compete with Valve, which just has it's so entrenched in PC gaming culture that people wouldn't care about Epic Games if they didn't have some sort of exclusivity or product or free games to entice people to at least look at their platform. Because I'm guilty of that too. Like I turn to Steam first almost every time. And so like in order to be competitive, they have to take some extreme measures. And while some argue that Epic is really anti-consumer and creating this exclusivity through their store and things like that, in terms of like a business model, in order to get their leg in the door, they have to. Otherwise like it'll just fall apart. And I get that. But at the same time, if I'm looking at a game and it's cheaper on Epic Games Store, I'm going to buy it there.
Hi, everybody. It's Alex here at Forever Classic Games. Just wanted to pop in and say that we did have some weird audio glitch, so we actually had to cut this episode short. But please look forward to our future episodes that are coming up here soon. We actually have an episode where we bring on a guest from the Here's Johnny podcast, my good friend Larry, to talk about Pokemon Legends Arceus. We are also gathering some friends to talk about Elden Ring, and then we will be joining Zach sometime very soon, where he'll be relaying the lore of Fortnite, which should be a lot of fun. If you do want more Forever Classic content, check out foreverclassicgames.com for articles, previews, lots of reviews, and be sure to follow us on social media. We also are streaming quite a lot here recently because most of us are very much obsessed with Elden Ring, and we'll probably have some other games too as well on the stream side of things. We do want to take a moment to thank everybody for listening to us, and if you enjoy what we do, please consider maybe supporting us financially or sharing our work with a friend. We would certainly appreciate it. So until next time, stay cool.